So here's my plan for this reinforcement. I went ahead and laid out real quick just on some heavy construction type paper. I laid out the general shape of what I want the reinforcement piece to look like. I did reference the drawing here, this larger dashed line area. I just used that as a general guide. I made mine bigger in all dimensions except for this area here, but mine is a little wider and it's a little bit longer overall. Once I had that laid out and I was happy with it, I cut it out, which is what you see here. And then I realized that I could possibly use the cutoff pieces from the leg. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I've already got the center line was already drawn and there's plenty of material. And it's already curved the same as the leg itself. So my plan is to just use this template and the center line, and I can lay this on the cutoff piece, line it up with the center line, line it up with the edge here, trace it out and cut it. And then I can flip this piece over and I can do the same thing on this side. I can line it up with the center line and cut it out. And then for the other gear leg, the existing gear leg, it's just more of the same. Here's its cutoff piece. And again, I can just lay this on here, trace it, cut it, flip it over, line it up, trace it, cut it, and I'll have 4 of these reinforcement pieces made of the same material and with the same general curve as the actual leg itself. So I'm going to give that a shot. But my plan is to be more organized. No, my plan is to, once I have these pieces made, I will fit them underneath like this. And I will use a very, very thin layer. I'm thinking fuel tank sealant just because it's flexible. I don't want to use epoxy because it's pretty rigid and I think it will crack. But I'll probably use fuel tank, a very, very thin layer of fuel tank sealant on this part. And then I will set it up in here. That's as far as I got. I think I will probably end up using a couple of rivets, just one here and one here to help secure it. But the overall bond is going to be with the fuel tank sealant. It would be nice to put a rivet down the center of this tab to hold these 2 pieces together, but you can't do that because you've got the shop head. Actually, yeah, the shop head can't be on this because that's where the band goes, and the shop head can't be on the bottom because that will rub on the leg. But I'm not there yet. Let me get these cut out. I'm going to make 4 of these on the individual cutout pieces, and I'll probably label them so that I get them back onto the leg. So I'll probably, label these 2 sides so that this cutout piece will actually go here and it won't end up over on that leg or on the back side of this one. So that's next. I'll do that and I'll talk to you guys later. So just to reiterate what I was just talking about, this is obviously the cutoff piece for this particular leg. And what I plan to do is use the cutoff piece to make my reinforcement pieces for the leg itself. So you can see the center line is already drawn. And if I cut this piece out in this location, I don't want to cut it from down here or from up here. I want the center line to be the same center line as the gear leg itself. If I cut this out, it will have the same basic shape as the leg. And then I just cut this out and then I can bring it over here and put it in place. So it's the same thing on the flip side. If I flip this over, you can see I've got the center line. Of course, it was here at one point, but it has been erased. But again, just cut this piece out. It will have the same shape as the leg itself. Just cut it out and then put it in place. I'm going to do that for both legs. So like I said, that's next. I'm going to cut these out, all 4 of them, and see if I can't fit them up underneath here, and with some fuel tank sealant and a couple of rivets, and see how that works. Howdy everyone. Alright, well, I've got the reinforcement pieces made, and I actually now have them installed. And like I had talked about before, I cut those pieces out from the scrap pieces of the leg so that they would have the same contour as the leg itself. And once I got those cut, it was just a simple matter of mixing up some fuel tank sealant and smearing it with fuel tank sealant, putting it in, riveting, and clamping. And that's it. Very straightforward, pretty simple. A nice thin layer of fuel tank sealant and a couple of rivets, and that's it. I don't know if you'll be able to see down in there. I'm trying to get a shot of one of them in place. So next I will just allow these to allow the fuel tank sealant to cure. I'll probably give it at least a week, and then I'll come back and I'll clean up inside these grooves, make sure that those are nice and clean and open for the clamp to go around. And that's about it. And then of course I'll clean off the whole leg at some point. But I think that's about it for now. So while these are setting up, I'm going to move on to something else. Of course, at the moment, I don't know what that is, but I'll figure that out here in a second. I don't know if that'd be a better view. Probably not. I'm trying to have this oriented more into the sun, but to get some better lighting in there. But anywho, so that's it for the legs for now. This one I haven't cleaned up yet, this edge here, but on this leg I did get this one cleaned up. So this is a nice straight edge now, and you can see for the most part it has stayed closed. I do have a little bit of a gap down at this end here. You can see there's a little bit of a gap. I wish this would pull down tighter, but that's my mistake. Maybe I filed this back too far, which, like I said, the further you file it, it's going to open up the gap. And the other thing that I could have done, of course, in hindsight, I could have moved this hinge, the hinge this way, which would have forced this tighter. But this will be fine. I'm not worried about that. You'll see why later. I'm not going to discuss it now, but you'll see later down the road. At some point, you'll see why this gap's not going to bother me. So that's it for gear legs for a little while anyway, until that stuff cures. So actually, what I think I'll do next, I do have the parts now to work on the gear leg stiffener. I'm going to do an aluminum piece with clamps for the gear leg stiffener. I think I'll do that next, now that I've got the parts for that. So stand by, and I'll talk to you guys later.